Hello, indie authors. Valerie Isan here. Today it is June 5th, 2019 as I record this, and this is episode 14. Today I'm going to be talking about uploading your files to the printers and the stores, and also talk about some pricing tips for your book. In my personal update, I revised the chapter on characters this morning in my How to Write a Novel or Memoir book. And so I'm working on the notes that I got back from my alpha reader team. And I remember last week I told you that I had a bunch of steps to go through and my revision checklist was at hand, and I went in and put in all the notes into my Scrivener files last week, and I've started working on addressing those notes and comments from my team. So this morning I started on chapter 1, the characters, and I wrote the acknowledgments page for the book yesterday and included my Patreon supporters that are supporting at the level where they get their name in the acknowledgments. So that's really exciting. So if you would like to be a patron of me, then you can get your name in the acknowledgments page of all my books as well. I think that starts at the $5 a month level. Or maybe it's the $3. I can't remember now. You'll have to go to patreon.com/Valerie Isan and find out. Also in personal update, I met with my architectural team this morning via GoToMeeting, and we had some technical difficulties, so the meeting got cut short, but we were talking about finishes. So they were presenting their ideas for the tile finishes and the countertops and the cabinetry, that sort of thing. So that was really exciting to see the renderings and what the kitchen's going to look like and that sort of thing. So we've asked them to send us the links of the companies that they are going to be purchasing the finishes from, the materials, and then we can have a better idea of what our options are for colors. What they presented to us was very neutral palette, which my husband quite likes, and I like a little bit more color, but the team talked about having the house be in neutral colors so that you could add all the other color in fabrics and artwork and such like that. So we can definitely add some color that way. Anyway, with the technical difficulties, it did get me thinking a little bit about working in other countries and what kinds of challenges that I might face when it comes to that. So that was on my mind this morning too. Also, I found out yesterday that our couch is not going to be delivered for another 2 weeks. We got rid of the old couch because we thought that the new one would be here by now. So I called the furniture company yesterday and said, "What's going on?" Or called Monday, and found out that it's not going to be here for another couple weeks at least, and so that makes TV watching time in the living room a little bit less comfy than it normally is. Books I'm reading right now. I just finished reading Craig Martell's book on the on his only nonfiction book on the successful indie publishing, and I really liked it. I think that you should read it too. It's really great. I'll put a link to the show notes. I'll put a link to the book in the show notes for you to check it out. And there's also, he runs the 20 books to 50K conferences. And so in the back of the book, there was a pretty substantial timeline and checklist for running your own conference. And I thought that was super interesting. Not that I'm going to plan on running a conference, but it was good information, I thought, if you want to put on any sort of literary event or even your own book signings or launch parties. They're obviously not as involved as running a conference, but some of the same ideas and steps would be needed in any type of literary event that you were going to run. So it's good information. I highly recommend the book. Next, for a nonfiction book, I'm going to start reading Wired for Joy. That was the recommendation I got from Becca Syme. So I'm going to look into that. And in fiction, I just yesterday finished Cold Comfort Farm, which was totally delightful. I don't know if you've read it or seen the movie. Both are very charming. It's kind of a comic look at rural living in England in the 30s. So it's fun. I thought it was lovely. So yeah, and then I just started The Peach Keeper by Sarah Addison Allen this morning. I really like her as an author too. I don't have any new patrons this week, but I do hope that you will consider becoming a Patreon supporter of me and my podcast show, because I'm trying to get to my first stretch goal, which is earning $125 a month through Patreon. And when that happens, there's going to be an extra bonus question and answer episode for patrons only. Totally secret for everybody else. It's going to be fun. The support of my patrons on Patreon helps make this show and other projects possible. Plus, being a patron of the arts is a totally cool thing to do. Joining my Patreon community also gets you sneak peeks into my creative world, allows you to interact with me directly, and rewards you with exclusive bonus content you can't get anywhere else, like that Q&A show. For less than a cost of a tasty hot beverage or a pack of gum, as low as $1 a month, you too can become a patron of the arts and me. Join me on my Patreon community at patreon.com/Valerie Ihsan, IHSAN. Main topic, uploading your files and pricing. Okay, so the next step on the checklist is to upload your print files to Ingram Spark. You can choose the two that you're going to be dealing with is either is Ingram Spark and KDP Print, and that's what I recommend that you do, is both of them. As a company, as a printer, as a print-on-demand supplier, I prefer Ingram Spark. And the reason for that is I think that the quality of the product is a little bit nicer, and the interaction with them, the customer service is a little bit better, and the delivery of books is a little bit faster, I think. So those are just some subjective thoughts on Ingram Spark versus KDP Print. But what is not subjective and is totally like the main reason why I think Ingram Spark is the go-to place to have your books printed is that if you upload to Ingram Spark, then your book goes into the Ingram Group database. So that means that anywhere where a bookseller, a bookstore wants to order your books, it'll be in the Ingram platform. They'll look up, most bookstores order their books from Ingram Group. So if they look you up in Ingram, they're going to find you because you've uploaded your indie published book at Ingram Spark. So bookstores can order your books, libraries can order your books if you go through Ingram Spark. Actually, libraries mostly order from Baker and Taylor, if I understand correctly. But having that ISBN will allow libraries to find you as well. KDP Print is obviously Kindle Direct Publishing's print-on-demand service, and that's an Amazon exclusive. Well, it's not exclusive. It's just Amazon's publishing company, and you can choose to just go through Amazon and click the expanded distribution box when you're uploading your files, and then they'll send the book anywhere. But a bookstore is not going to pick that up, like a brick and mortar bookstore. They're not going to order your book from Amazon because Amazon doesn't allow for any discounting, and a bookstore's business model is buying a book at wholesale price, and then marking it up to retail price and then taking that markup as their profit. So if they can't buy the book at a discount, then they can't buy the book. They're in it to make money. That's their job. That's their livelihood. So no bookstore is going to order a book from Amazon. So if you want your book to be in a physical bookstore, it has to have the ISBN like we talked about last week, but also it has to be uploaded to Ingram Spark. So upload your file to Ingram Spark. And with the worksheet we went through last week, again, when you upload to Ingram Spark, you create a free account with them, username and password, and then you will upload the PDF of your interior file that you've created through Vellum or the Readsy book editor or Draft2Digital's book editor, or maybe you've hired that out and had an interior designer design the layout of the interior of your book. So whatever it is, you've got that final PDF from whatever avenue you took. You now have a PDF, and that's what you're uploading to Ingram Spark. So you upload to Ingram Spark, and you also upload the cover design file, which is also a PDF from the cover designer. The 3-part cover design we talked about last week that has the spine size in the back and the front. That's all one document, and it's been formatted specifically for Ingram Spark's specifications and dimensions that it needs. And I should say that Ingram Spark's cover template is different size than KDP Print's templated cover dimensions. So you can't use a cover that has been designed for Ingram Spark on KDP Print, or it won't fit. It'll have a weird crease up on the spine, like it'll wrap around just a hair off, and it will just look kind of funky. Okay, so when you're uploading to Ingram Spark, then you've got your PDF up and you've got your cover PDF in, and then you're going to have to fill in all that metadata again, like we talked about. So if you've got your worksheet that has it all laid out for you, I won't go through it again because we did it last week, but the differences in the printers, as opposed to managing the ISBN, is it's going to ask you for like the trim size. Do you want it to be 6x9? Do you want it to be 5x8? I use 5¼ by 8. I just like that size, and it's a standard one. It's going to ask you what color paper on the interior do you want. Do you want white or do you want cream? I think cream looks more professional, and it's less jarring on the contrast of the print text and the color of the paper. It just looks softer to use the cream, but that's my personal preference. And it's going to ask you what color, do you want color illustrations, or is it going to be in black and white? So you're going to choose black and white for a novel. If your book does have color photographs, I would still recommend doing a black and white version because it's way less expensive for black and white printing than color printing. And if you choose color printing, it's not just the 5 pages of colored tables and graphs that you have. They're going to use that color price for every single book in your manuscript, regardless if it has a color photo on it or not. So the price will be prohibitive for someone trying to buy your book online or in a store, because you have to pass that expense on to the retail price. If you have a book that is picture heavy and it's really important to you to have color photos, then go ahead and do that. But as a marketing tip, I guess, I would also make a black and white version as well, so that customers can opt to pay the color premium price, or if they just want, the information and the black and white is fine for them, then they have that option. That would be my recommendation. Other things that are different on the when you're uploading to the printers, the Ingram Spark or KDP Print, you're also going to be asked what kind of binding type that you want the book to be. And if it's paperback, you're going to want it to be perfect bound. That's what this is. This square or block, where there's no comb binding or anything, and it's just flat, and you can read on the spine. This is called perfect bound. So you want to put that on your file there. It's a little drop-down menu. And the last thing I'm going to say about this, it asks for the laminate type, and your choice is matte or glossy. And I choose matte. That's my personal preference. Some people like to use gloss if it is a photograph. If you want trying to see if there's any gloss ones on my list or my bookshelf here. Pretty much all of them are matte. I don't see any here. Oh, I found one. Here's one that's glossy, and it's about moving to Costa Rica, but it's a photograph, and so they felt like the gloss would look better with a photograph. So if you have a photograph on your cover, you might prefer to have the gloss finish, but almost everything else on my bookshelf is flat. It's matte. And sometimes the matte is smooth, and sometimes the matte is deliciously like petting suede. I don't know, it just feels really good. When I first felt it, I was like, ooh, this is amazing. So I like matte. Okay, and then it's going to ask you what the page count is, which you know now, and it's going to ask you about the pricing and the discount. So I mentioned last time you do want to discount your books, because if you don't, a bookstore is not going to buy your book if you're not going to discount it for them. But Ingram Spark gives you the option of what percentage rate you would like to do the discount for. I do it for 55% because that is fairly standard in the United States. But the lowest one is 30%, and I know other authors that just choose the 30% discount. So your choice. And also it asks if it's going to be returnable, which I think you put in the My Identifiers managing the ISBN when you assign the ISBN. I think that was an option that you had decided at that point. So again, you just have to put it in this here too, if you're going to have it be returnable or not. And then it's going to ask you for the price. So I don't remember if I talked about this before. I feel like I have, but I want to reiterate because pricing can get a little tricky. So you're going to list your retail price in the country that you live in, and I'm in the US, so I list my price. Let's say for the novel that we were talking about last week, my novel, The Scent of Apple Tea, was listed at $15.95 for my US dollar price. So you're also in Ingram Spark going to have to write down the price for euros and for British pounds and for Australian dollars and Canadian dollars. I think that's all it is. So let me give you a couple of tips on how to do that. So you're going to list your regular retail price, $15.95. Let's just use that as a sample because that's the one that I prepped for this podcast. So I looked up right before this on the currency converter what translating $15.95 US dollars was into British pounds. And that takes it down to 15.5 British pounds. So from $15.95 down to $12.50. And then you don't want a book to end in 50 cents because that's weird psychologically and marketing wise, and people are just used to seeing books end in prices like 95, 99, 49, something like that. So if you have a number the cents or the pence, the ending of the price, if it's different than what folks are normally used to looking at, it's just going to tweak weird in their brain, and they're going to flick past it and find another book, because subconsciously they're going to think, what's wrong with this? Because it doesn't look the same as the other prices. So you want to just make it easy for them and make the price the same looking as other prices. So $15.95 US dollars it converts into 12.5 British pounds. So when you need to round down on the British pounds. So you round it down to the nearest 95, 99, whichever you're ending your thing in. So that would actually make it $11.95. So from $15.95 down to $11.95. Excuse me, I'm going to repeat that. The British pound price was $12.50, so you're going to round it down to $11.95. So it ends neatly in that 95. You could try listing it at $12.95, but since the British pound price converted from the US dollar price to $12.50, if you raised it up to $12.95, then the book in Britain would cost more than the book in the US, which doesn't seem right. So I would round it down to the nearest 95. So you're going to list the British pounds price at $11.95. I'll just go through the rest of it too. If you're going to list the price at euros, so $15.95 converted to euros is 14.21 euros. So in euros, you're going to actually, they don't care so much about rounding up or down, but you just need to get it to the nearest 49-cent ending or 99-cent ending or 95, whichever of those endings you're choosing. So if the euros price is 14.21, then I would make that 14.49, just to make it look the same as other euro prices. Australian dollars converted from $15.95 US, the Australian dollar price is $22.90. And for Australian dollars, you're actually going to be rounding up, not down. So with Australian dollars, you're going to round up, and since that's really close, I would just make it at $22.99. Canadian dollars are also rounded up after the conversion. So after the conversion, the Canadian dollar price was $21.41. So I'm going to round that up to $21.99. And I think that's all I'm going to say about price right there. After you finish uploading to Ingram Spark, and you're all finished putting in all that metadata, then it's going to give you a proof right there, what it's going to look like digitally. And so you can scan through that and look through it, and it'll flag it if the cover is a little wonky and it doesn't fit right, or it'll flag it for a couple of different reasons. If you, if there's a problem, Ingram Spark will tell you. Otherwise, they'll just send you the proof and you right away, and you can just look through it and approve it and make it available for sale right then. Or, and this is what they recommend, and it makes sense to me, so this is what I do too, I mark it not approved, and I have it, or I just put it on hold or whatever, and then I have them send me a print copy, just one. And you have to buy it, and you have to pay shipping, and so it's kind of an expensive book because it's less than retail because you're just paying the wholesale price and the printing price, and then you pay the shipping on top of that. So you get it delivered to your house, and then you can physically look at it in your hands and proof it that way, and then go back into the computer and approve the proof on the Ingram Spark dashboard and make it available for sale. I think one of the options is approve the proof but not put it for sale, and that's the one I choose usually until I've had the physical copy in my hand, and then I go back in and approve it. So when you are planning your launch date, you want to factor in a few weeks to do this, actually, because even if you can get all of this uploaded all in one day, which is possible for sure if you're devoting your whole day to uploading to all the sites and all the stores and everything. But then if you're waiting for a physical proof copy to be printed and sent to you and looked through, and then, I would save at least 2 weeks for that, maybe even 3, just so that you don't stress yourself out. So once you've approved and or ordered a physical copy proof from Ingram Spark, the next thing I do is upload the print files to KDP Print. And the same process, you go through the same process. The only thing that's different on KDP Print is, actually Ingram Spark does this too, but there is actually a line in the KDP Print that asks if you want to do large print, yes or no. So depending on what version of book you are uploading right then, you'll say yes or no. And then the pricing thing happens again. You have to put the US price in, and then the GBP price and the Euro price. And you upload the PDF of the interior files, and you upload the KDP Print template cover that you have from your cover designer, and you put in all the metadata, and you approve the proof and or order a physical copy proof to be delivered to you, and then go back in and approve it and put it for sale. So that's kind of course, because you're dealing with physical copy, it's a little more clunky and time consuming than doing it all digitally. You can just do it digitally and not wait for the physical copy, but then, you might never know if it looks wonky for some reason, or you have to change it, or, there's a blank page right in the middle of it or something weird. I mean, stuff like that happens. So it's better to get a physical proof copy and approve it that way. And then as far as uploading your digital files to the online retailers, this is where you have to decide if you want to go direct with any of these places, like KDP Direct, which I totally recommend. You really want to be in that Amazon ecosystem. Or if you're wanting to use the aggregators and just do Draft to Digital, and then have Draft to Digital or Publish Drive send your files to all the other stores. So you can make it as easy. The easiest possible thing for you to do is to just upload it to Draft to Digital and maybe Publish Drive too, because Publish Drive can get to places that Draft to Digital can't. There is a lot of crossover between the two. Like, they both go to Apple Books, they both go to Amazon, they both go to Kobo, and they both go to Nook, and so they both go to a lot of different places, a lot of the same places, but they also have their own places that they go, and the other company doesn't. So I upload to both of those aggregators, drafttodigital.com and publishdrive.com. But I also choose to and recommend as good practice to upload directly to KDP, which is Amazon, and Kobo. I really like that company, and they're super easy and very personable, and I just really like the company and the customer service, and I would also, if you have the availability to do Apple Books directly, that would be great, but I don't personally do that because I don't have the right kind of computer to do that with. Like, I don't have the right operating system or something. You have to. It's harder to do and harder to deal with, so it's easier to just go through an aggregator. But I do want to say something about the pricing of ebooks. So you're going to go through the same process, but in, say, the Kobo store, for example, and also Amazon too, on KDP, if you're uploading directly, and any of the aggregators, you're going to have places to put in all these global prices, because all of these online retailers have a global component to it. And you're going to have to go through again and do the currency converter and then change the price manually up or down so that it reflects that 99 or 49, ending, to make it look like a real price and not some weird glitch. So what I wanted to say was about Indian rupee pricing, actually. I may have brought this up already on a previous podcast, but I think it bears repeating, so I'm going to say it again. So If, for instance, your ebook is priced at $3.99, I did this currency conversion right before I recorded today, and so I looked up what $3.99 US dollars translates to 277 rupees. But books in India are very, very inexpensive. It's just a cultural thing. They don't spend a lot of money for books. They sell a lot of books, and there's a lot of people in India, and a lot of people in India speak English. So getting your English books in India is still good practice, especially nonfiction, because there's millions and millions of English-speaking people in India that could very well want to read your business book if you're writing a business book, for example. So, but the price has to be extremely low. And a challenge that these online platforms have is the lowest price across the board. Kobo, Amazon, all of the places, all of the platforms, the lowest you can price in Indian rupees is 49 rupees. So remember that $3.99 equaled 277 rupees. The lowest you can go is 49 rupees, which is only 70 cents US dollars. That's the lowest you can price it on all of our platforms that we have, that indie authors have access to. However, as of 2017, I haven't looked at it recently, but I had was at a marketing seminar that Joanna Penn was giving, and she had said, it was in 2017, and she said that she went on Flipkart or I forget what store she went to, but she went to an online Indian bookstore, and the best-selling books in India were listed at 9 rupees. And 49 is the lowest that we can go and price them at. But 49 rupees and 9 rupees is a huge difference in rupees. And I looked up what 9 rupees was in US dollars, and it's 13 cents. So best-selling books go for 13 cents in India. You don't want to put them at $3.99 for India because it's too expensive of a book. Nobody's going to buy a book that price in India. So when you are changing your prices, it's best if there is some way you can find out what the country tolerates in their pricing. I can tell you go up or go down or make sure it ends in this whatever, but and you can do your own currency conversion just online, and some of these places like Kobo and Amazon will do the currency conversion for you, but it ends in a funky, so you have to go in and manually change it to 49 or 99 at the ending. But they don't take into account for the country's climate when it comes to book pricing. And if you can figure that out ahead of time and reflect that in your pricing, that would be excellent. But I'm not sure. I don't have contacts in, Hong Kong to know what book prices in Hong Kong are. So I just have to base it on the information that I can gather myself. And I know that 49 rupees is still a really high book price, but it's the lowest that I can set it at. So my book is $3.99-ish through all the countries, except for in India, where it's 49 rupees, which is 70 cents. All right. I think that maybe that's all I am going to talk about today. We talked about uploading the prints files. We talked about uploading the digital files, and we talked about pricing. So I think that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me. Happy writing, happy publishing, happy spring days. It's almost summertime, and I, for one, am super happy about all the sun around here. Be well. I'll talk to you next week. See you in the next video.